What's up guys, Ryan from AntScapes here. So today's literally just the expansion on my giant African millipede tank. But without further ado, I'll get straight to the content. As always, peace and love. I'm out!
I actually don't know what this plant is here. This one here, native to the UK, it must be. Well, I'm going to be taking this. It looks awesome. The reason being is all the stuff here, you see, it'll be shortly removed, so I'm trying to get as much stuff as I can. Now this stuff, like I mentioned, is ideal. This stuff here, it's like white, it's really soft, it literally crumbles into your hands. It's like almost wet and soggy. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting this down here, because I'm just making sure that there's nothing inside, especially ants, considering that, you know, that's what we're into. But you can see that there, it just breaks off. Got some nice hypno moss attached, but I'll be using stuff like this. I'll be peeling all of this off. I'll be using this as well for something else, but as you can see, this is the type of stuff that I'm looking for at the moment. Okay, so I'm currently just cutting the acrylic sheets, and that's all I'm doing. So I'm literally just cutting these with a junior hacksaw, this thing here, and some other bit as well, but I'm literally just cutting them to size. And got these acrylic sheets for free actually from work, because they were used as like COVID-19 protection screens, and one fell off and the edge chipped so it couldn't stand up anymore, so I managed to get a few of them for free, so that was cool. And on this one here, you can actually see this is the tank I'll be using. The lid's currently on as well, so I'm just sort of showing the lid, the tank, the light, and that's it. Let's get started. The first thing you'll notice here is I had the drainage layer. I do have to apologise about the light flashing there. Now it does flash throughout certain parts of the video, and I only end up sort of sorting it once I actually added one of the millipedes in, which was really frustrating. But yeah, I kept thinking all my lights were breaking because one of my other ones is currently broke. But the first thing I do is drainage layer. After I add the drainage layer, I'm going to add a mesh membrane. But the first thing is just getting them rocks down, getting that drainage layer quite deep, or deep enough. I don't want it too deep because most of this will be covered in substrate, and it'll be about half the depth of the tank in substrate, as millipedes like to dig very deep. And if you are wondering why I'm spraying it down here, two reasons. One is so I can clean the glass, and the second one is because I wanted to just get some water in that drainage layer. Reason being is just once you add that mesh membrane, the soil, everything like that, it's just going to add more moisture. It's going to help that water cycle. But I added a sort of a little spritz in the drainage layer because I felt like, you know, it would actually benefit the tank, especially how they're sort of humidity loving creatures. So, and the plants that I'm putting in like humidity, so that's why. But the main reason was for the extra humidity, but the other one was also so I could clean the whole glass, or all the glass at the same time. Now that radiator you won't be able to see once the soil's in, and you can't actually see it when you see sort of the final result. And this was what I managed to gather. Loads of white wood, rotten leaves, rotten wood. It's just sort of bitty. But this is perfect. They absolutely love eating this. The main food source that they eat is rotten leaves, rotten tree, rotten logs, anything like that. So I was just showing you sort of the substrate mix, or the mix I got, which was all from outdoors. I initially added it in here just to get that sort of mesh membrane, I guess, lined, and I had a small amount at first, line it around, and then I started in the rest. I actually zoomed in because you can see a lot of little critters that come out of the soil, things like that as I'm tipping it in. There's loads of little things in there which were really interesting, and I try and zoom in on certain parts, on certain things, but there's loads of things in there like isopods, centipedes, native millipedes, you know, springtails, bugs, everything, worms, you name it, it's probably in this, because the location and where I got the soil from was buried underneath the sort of decaying stump that I got. So there was all sorts of things living in there. And just here, I'm going to have a little zoomy zoom focus on the left side, a little piece of wood. And essentially, as I lift it up,
watch the piece I lift up, you see a nice centipede run out there. There we go. So as you can see, there is things in here. So yeah, I mean there's loads. Honestly, I wish I filmed every single thing I put in, but I didn't, unfortunately. So, but you'll see it as I add the final piece of substrate towards the end, once I lay in this small bag I got. Once I lay that in, you'll see it's almost as if the tank's moving, because there's that many little bugs in there. And this is where I added the peat-free, cocoa-free soil. It's just, you have to make sure it's the right soil for millipedes. I've got some really good advice lately, and it's the main reason I'm moving my millipedes weren't in the right soil. So, and also they needed a bigger setup. I ended up deciding to buy another one, so I ended up with 3 now. Also the obviously original 2 I had, so I now have 3. And then I also show some of the plants that don't fit it, just like this one. Look how nice that plant is. Some of them didn't fit in here, which was unfortunate, but regardless, you know, I like how it turned out. I think, you know, I kind of, despite the switch or me not being able to use all the plants, I think it maybe has helped the design a little bit to scale. But regardless, I mean, I like the scape in the end, the final result, and I hope you guys do as well. Here we've got Hardscape first. There's certain plants I couldn't add, and I show them throughout this video. There's quite a lot, but it was unfortunate either way. I ended up then having to change my mind sort of all the way through the design or throughout, but you do that regardless. Here you can see I'm just being mindful of the direction of the hardscape, because I want it to look natural. I want it to look like as if you were to see that in nature. There's another plant I couldn't use, that nice little fern. Oh, a nice big one, to be honest. It was too big for this. And remember, if you are liking the video, please smash that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. You know, this is a process, and these things are sort of enjoy doing, and if you do enjoy them, then, you know, reciprocate and let me know, because end of the day it does inspire me to keep making these videos, and you know, all the support I've had so far, I honestly can't thank you guys enough. I love you all to pieces. And here I pinned some of the Latin names of the plants. I don't know all of the names, so I do put the common names of some. So I do apologise for that. But if you guys do know as well, leave a comment below if you know the exact Latin names of the ones I only put the common names for, like Trade Sentia, for example. But regardless, just let me know below, and that'd actually be a great help if people could do that. Yeah, please do that, guys. Leave a comment below the Latin names of some of the plants I don't list the Latin names for. And you'll probably tell on some of my videos, or a lot of them, I always add things in odd numbers. I don't know why I do that, but regardless, you know, you'll tend to find I always add things in odd numbers, like 1s and 3s, 5s, etc. It's obviously, I don't know why I had to tell you the numbers, not like you don't know what odd numbers are. But yeah, so I don't know why, but that's what I've always done, and that's what I'm used to. And now is for my absolute favourite part, adding the moss and the fine details, making sure everything sort of looks really nice, getting that extra humidity in there. And finally, when I'm adding the moss, I can sort of only pack the soil a little bit. Obviously, I barely did anything because there's a lot of things living in that soil, so I don't want to squash anything. So I just gently or firmly just push the moss down, and that will suffice to sort of keep it in place. And one of the final things was the sort of last pieces of moss, missing it all down, or the moss as I lay it as well. It just helps bed it in. I tend to find, you know, from a personal experience, I guess, whenever I add the moss, if I just sort of soak it down on the top at first and then give it a little push, it sort of beds into the soil a lot better, and I have better success rate with that as well. And the last thing going in here, orange tropical wood lice, grey tropical wood lice, tropical springtails, and that was it. And the last and final thing was just to add the millipedes. And typically when I added the first millipedes, that's when I had some light problems and started flashing like you're at a disco, which is typical. But either way, you know, it's they really sort of got familiar with the setup at first, moving around, loads of activity, which is what we want. And now they're completely settled. I also added the additional third giant African millipede later on in the video, because I actually bought that a few days after I'd made this scape. But yeah, so you'll see the additional one as well. So this was when the first millipede actually goes into the tank, and this is when the disco starts. It was only for about 30 seconds. It was only a loose connection in the end, but you know, that time period was very frustrating, especially when, you know, you're trying to put the millipede in and it's got a disco there and it's a new home. I didn't want to worry the millipede or scare it or anything like that, but regardless, I fixed it, and when I added the second one, there was no issues. And then the final thing was adding patches of sphagnum moss and bits of soil which had the other springtail culture in, this tropical springtail culture. So yeah, I just wanted extra there, extra bioactive, and cleanup crew just for the initial sort of starting up stages, I'd say. In here you can see just a little shield bug. After that, I'll just show you them sort of mooching around, exploring the new territories, just absolutely loving life in this new home. And then shortly after, I do add the third one. And to be honest, I noticed when I bought it from the shop, it was actually quite discoloured. It wasn't that bright. It looked a bit bad. The tub that kept it in was tiny for how big it is. It couldn't even stretch out fully. And these two seem to be absolutely loving this, exploring it together, as we can see there, loving each other and just loving life generally. But these were just being cuties and following each other all night, and then started exploring the logs and things like that. Obviously they are arboreal, so you know they are actually absolutely loving this new decor, exploring it, mooching around and just getting a nice view of the area. This was the additional one. As you can see, it does lack colour, so I've noticed it has perked up the last couple of days, but this is me initially just adding it in. As you can see, it's a lot more scared compared to the other ones, because they're used to me now. You know, I hold them, or whenever they're out, you know, I'll actively try and let them go onto my hand and see if they fancy, you know, just mooching around the house with me. But this one in particular, you know, it was very scared, so it did need to sort of come out of its shell and explore the tank. And finally, it was moving around with the other two. That one decided it liked it up there. I like it the highest. I'm the king of the castle type of thing. And then the other two was still just exploring around, just seeing what new things there was, and the sort of finding the new homes anyway, let's just say, or the new hidey spots. I hope you've liked the video, and if you do, remember, smash that like button, subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and smash that bell icon as well, so you can make sure you get all of my notifications. But as always from me, peace and love, I'm out.